Well, we've talked about some of the big political news this weekend and the headlines. Let's delve a little more into it. We've got North Central College professor Bill Muck to join us today. Thank you so much, sir.
Always good to be here.
Let's start off with Governor Pritzker responding to the DOJ lawsuit. He says it was a distraction. He says that it's the lawsuit, of course, against Chicago and Illinois, saying that we're sanctuary cities and we can't impede with the immigration deportations. Is this legal or illegal?
Well, the courts are ultimately going to decide, and my guess is it's going to work its way all the way up to the Supreme Court. And I think JP's right that it's a distraction, but I think for the Trump administration, the distraction, the optics is the point. They want to bring this to the court system. They want to have this fight. They really want this to play out. They feel that the Supreme Court may go their way, but I think the reality is it's going to be really, really difficult. Courts are unlikely to step in and force a state to do something, right? There's a real separation of power, federal versus state here, and I think Pritzker's right to say that the law is likely going to be on the state side. But again, we've got a Supreme Court where it's never quite clear how that will play out.
Should Mayor Brandon Johnson go testify March 5th with the other mayors?
If it was me, I wouldn't. This is going to be brutal, right? He's going to be in front of a number of Republicans who are going to come after him. The setting, the format is going to be really, really challenging. These are settings where it's not a normal conversation. They control the dialogue. They ask the questions. They can tell you to stop talking. So this is going to be really tough, and it's going to be a challenge for Johnson to see how he can adapt to that political environment. I think it's useful for him to raise his profile, but this is going to be tough. This is not an easy place to go.
Bill, just tonight, Trump revoked President Biden's security clearance. In the meantime, an unelected Elon Musk has been shredding congressionally funded federal government programs. And then Trump made himself the chairman of the Kennedy Center. It's a lot of control issues going on.
It really is. And again, we're seeing this information overload. And I think this is part of the point. They talk about flooding the zone. They want to put as much information in as they possibly can. Some of this is clearly sort of petty, right? This is a way of striking back against the Biden administration, frustrated about, how he was treated. The Kennedy Center one is sort of interesting, right? I think this also fits with this desire to dismantle the government, right? And this is a chance for Trump to say, I also understand high culture, and I'm going to take over, and I'm going to shift culture in a very, very different way. The Kennedy Center sort of typifies that sense of high culture. So this is a way for Donald Trump to attack that and, again, get some retribution. And I think there's a sense of vengeance in many of these acts as well.
And Professor, Israel's head, I should say, Benjamin Netanyahu, meeting with the president this week, talking about Gaza and other things. But he came out of it and kind of surprised people when Trump said that Gaza should be turned into more like a resort area and that America is going to take over and displace the people who are there. Can he do that?
No. I mean, this is sort of breathtaking, right? So international law is very clear that, the Palestinian territories, the Gaza Strip is a sovereign territory, and any action by the United States or Israel to take control of that would be in violation of international law against the most fundamental rules of non-intervention. And then the other thing that's problematic about all this is Donald Trump is talking about relocating populations. That's a version of ethnic cleansing, and you're hearing that term be thrown around here, and I think it's appropriate, right? If you're going to say the Palestinians are being forced into a different location, that's also against international law. And this one's not even really close either. It would be clearly a violation, and it would also not be in U.S. strategic interest to be building nations in the Middle East once again.
And from international law to international aid, the president says he wants to shutter USAID. Now, that is going to leave foreign service workers sort of out in the cold. It is 40% of the relief funds that help people all around the world in all kinds of crises. Is this more political theater? Do you think the courts will put a stop to where this is going?
This will be the test of how much power the courts are willing to give the president. And the Trump administration is running with this unitary executive theory that basically they have all the power in the executive branch. And I think this is problematic for a couple of reasons. One, this is in a bipartisan way. We have supported the USAID for the work it does. It makes the United States look really good. It's a form of soft power. And the other thing is it's humanitarian, right? So the United States gets to go out there and do these really good things and make a difference in the world, right? When you think about HIV/AIDS or malaria or all these other things, the United States has been a transformative leader. And some of the countries that are most excited about the United States pulling back from this role, Russia, Nicaragua, and China. So I think for a lot of reasons, this is deeply problematic, and I think also will undermine U.S. power internationally.
Have you seen evidence of fraud? And if there is any fraud, I mean, couldn't you just target that element of USAID?
Absolutely. And there are elements of the government that look at this, right? And so every government organization, there is going to be some issues, right? And that's why you have oversight. And that's part of the process for Congress and oversight committees to look at these things. And certainly, I'm sure in the course of USAID, there has been elements of corruption. But when you look at the overall impact, pound for pound, it is a really powerful organization. It's less than 1% of the budget. So it's a really tiny, amount of money that we're being spent compared to the impact it has globally. And if you don't do it with diplomacy, you ultimately probably have to do it through the military. So I think this is a mistake. And I think there are a lot of individuals out there who are really worried about what this means for the U.S. leadership.
Do you see Washington Democrats starting to rebel against the leadership that Elon Musk is getting, especially with Doge in Washington?
Yeah, Elon's an easy target, right? I mean, so Elon is not particularly popular. The challenge for the Democrats is they got to figure out who are they going to target, right? How are they going to push back against the Trump administration? Trump approval's rating is dropping a little bit, but they have to decide how do they want to approach it. You don't have one leader of the Democrats, so you got to think about it. And then when they are flooding the zone with constant news, moment after moment, you can't hit on all issues. You got to decide which are the big ones. I think Elon right now is an easy one because he's somewhat controversial, and there's all these challenges of violating the rule of law. But the Democrats are in a difficult position because it's hard to push back against the administration at this stage of their tenure.
Political professor Bill Muck from North Central College, thanks again. Always nice to have you.
Thanks for having me.